Hello again, boys and girls. Today in our literacy lesson we're going to do a little bit more reading. But we're not going to be reading a text like we've been reading in our lessons recently. We're actually going to be reading some information, but this information is going to be all about Roald Dahl, who is the author we've been reading stories of recently. So today our objective is to read and understand a non-chronological report. That's where we've got a piece of information which can be read in any order at all, but we're going to read it from top to bottom today. To be successful, we're going to use our phonics to read words effectively. We're going to use other reading strategies to help us read. We're going to use evidence from the text supporting the answers we might have. And we're going to give our opinion on the text and explain why we think that. So, the information is here. This is a picture of Roald Dahl, who's the author we've been learning about. And it says here, Roald Dahl was a spy, an ace fighter pilot, a chocolate historian, and a medical inventor. He was also the author of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, and the BFG, amongst other books. Born in Llandaff, Wales, on the 13th of September 1916 to Norwegian parents, Roald Dahl and Sophie Magdalene Hesselberg, Roald Dahl was named after Roald Amundsen, the Norwegian who had been the first man to reach the South Pole just 4 years earlier. A heroic start in life. But his early years were blighted by the tragic deaths of his older sister and his father. So we've learned a little bit about Roald Dahl in this text here, and I thought we'd answer some questions together using what we just read. So the first question says, name 2 jobs Roald Dahl had during his life. So we're looking for 2 things that he did during his life, and I think that's in the top paragraph if I remember rightly. Have you found it? There's a few different answers you could have said. You could have said that he was a spy and a fighter pilot. That could have given you an answer there. You could also have said chocolate historian and medical inventor. You could also have said author, because we know that that's what his main job was. So he had 5 different jobs he could have had. Let's look at the next question. Name 3 books that he wrote. Now, are we going to write James and the Giant Peach, George's Marvellous Medicines, and Charlie and the Chocolate Factory? Would that work as an answer? Well, now we know that that is a correct answer because we've read 2 of those books and we know of one of the others as well. However, in the text here, it doesn't mention 2 of those books. If we're answering this question here, we have to make sure we've got evidence from the text, not just from our own brains. So in fact, the answers you could have said were Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, Matilda, and the BFG. We might not have read those books together, but those are the 3 books which you'd have to say in your answer because those are the 3 that are in the text. Let's look at the next question. Which country was he born in? Now for that one, you're going to be looking for a capital letter because you're going to be looking for a place where he was born. So I look for a capital letter at the beginning of a word, and I keep going until I find a place. Born in Llandaff, Wales. It says what country was he born in. So Llandaff is the name of the city, which means that the country must be Wales. Let's look at the 4th question. Why was his childhood sad? Now it doesn't actually say his childhood was sad because in the text. So we need to think about what would be sad about his childhood and why we think that might be sad. It says here, but his early years were blighted by the tragic deaths of his older sister and his father. So why was his childhood sad? Because sadly his sister and his father died when he was young. That would be the answer to that question there. Okay, so for today's task, what I'd like you to do, I'd like you to go back to DB Primary and I'd like to download the text and the questions all about Roald Dahl. You'll find out more about the man behind those great stories that we've been reading. Make sure that you use evidence from the text to back up what you say. Like I said, don't just guess answers, you have to actually find it in the text. I know you might know a little bit about Roald Dahl already, but you've got to use what's in the text. You can't just make it up and base it on your memory. Once you've done that, come back to this slide here and I'll show you the open. Okay, so today our objective was to read and understand the text. Presentation and effort, you need to think about how well you've done with that, 1, 2 or 3 ticks, and then thinking about our next step. Do you need to develop your use of phonics to read effectively? Do you need to develop other reading strategies to help you read? Do you need to use evidence from the text to support your answer? Do you need to work on that? Sometimes it's a bit difficult to do that, but the more you do it, the easier it will become. And do you need to maybe give and explain your opinion on the text a little bit better? Have a think about what you need to work on, and remember, you can always upload your question and answers to DB Primary so we can check through them.